Hey everyone, Voro here, and today we have a review on the DX9. I've had this remote about 3 weeks now. I've had some time to play with it and have some fun with it, and I have to say it's a fantastic remote. So in this video I'm going to talk about going through it, talk about the features, the key features, the features I definitely like, and we'll talk about that kind of stuff. So first we're going to do an out of the box. So starting off out of the box, of course, we have the gorgeous DX9, and it is a beautiful, beautiful radio. Now DX9 comes with, of course, the charging unit, which charges lithium ion and lithium polymer, a 2000 milliamp lithium ion, the instruction manual, and we're going to be talking about this a little bit. There have been some common misconceptions that it is a little difficult to read, and I can understand that, so we're going to talk about that a little bit. And then finally, a neck strap. However, this is my DX7. I gave my DX9 neck strap off to a brand new pilot that's up and coming, so all I have is my DX7. However, it does look exactly the same, except it does say DX9, of course, but it's the same color scheme, same black, same everything, same hooks, same everything. So that is what you get in the box, and there's also a decal sheet in here, but not much looking at that right now. Okay, so starting off, we're going to talk about the key features, definitely the one that is a little different than all the other ones, and that is the voice system. The voice system is fantastic. I've been messing around with it a little bit, and you can program any switch on the remote to the voice, and it will tell you anything you want to know. It'll even command it to check telemetry inside the plane, which is a very, very useful attribute. So a little later on in this video we'll talk about a little bit about the inside of the programming. But first we're going to do a little walk around of the remote, and we'll show you around. Alright guys, so now we've got the DX9 here, ready to go around it and show you guys everything about it. Now, the coolest thing about this for me is I upgraded from a DX7, so all of the extra channel assigning and the 3-position switches, that all was brand new to me. So this is just fantastic. So we'll start on the left here, and first, as you can see, everything is labeled A, B, C, D, E, and F, all the way to H. So A and B are back here, and it depends on what you want to do, but typically it's gear switch and flaps are going to be up here. However, since everything is channel assigned, everything can be customized to what you like. So start off, A switch is a 2-position, B switch is a 3-position. We have our bind, and laying it down here. The C is going to be 3-position, D is 3-position, E is 3-position, F is 3-position, G is 3-position, and H is 2-position. So every single switch on this aircraft is going to be 3-position except for the 2 furthest back. And then of course we have our knob, which is, it does not have a letter, it's labeled R knob. Okay. Alright, so let's go ahead and power it on. So the first thing I want to show you is going to definitely be the voice. So if I switch up here, by the way, this is my aileron dual rate, this is my elevator dual rate, this is my rudder dual rate. That's how I learned, that's what feels natural to me. So if I go ahead and flip this switch,
mid rates, low rates, mid rates, rolling mode.
As you can hear, it changes every single time. Now, what we're going to do here is now we're going to go into the programming, and I'll let you listen to everything it says.
Mid rates, low rates, mid rates, rolling mode.
So as you can see, every single time I switch something, it does do the voice alert. So let's go ahead and do the elevator.
Mid rates, low rates, mid rates, 3D rates.
Perfect. So again, it's just like the DX8, DX18, all that stuff, the 3-position dual rates. However, you do have the option to program the voice into letting you know, just in case you accidentally flip a switch, you can actually hear what it says. So if you go into flip in the mid rates and you accidentally go into low rates and you're unaware, it will tell you low rates. It'll tell you mid rates, as you just heard. Okay, so as you can see, the black light just turned off after, I believe I have it set to 30 seconds. You can set it to 30 seconds, 1 minute, 5 minutes, or it can never turn off. I would definitely advise against the never turning off, just because that is going to waste your battery and kill it pretty quickly. So we're going to go in here and we're going to look at the dual rates first. So since we're already in here, we first have dual rates on aileron, elevator, and rudder, just like most remotes. Now the cool thing about this is we can assign the switch. So if I go down here and highlight that, now all I have to do here is go up. This is going to be on rudder. So all I have to do is find a switch. So I'm actually going to program it to this switch right here, which is E. Go in here, and all we're going to do is flip it. And now it automatically detects E. So now when I flip E up, it's going to change it, as you can see. It's going to keep the same settings, just a different switch.
Mid rates.
So now I'm just going to switch it back.
Hammerhead rates.
And it's as simple as that. Assigning channels could not be easier. All you do is use your scroller, find it, click it,
mid rates,
and flip the switch you want to assign it to.
Mid rates.
Simple as that. Now, the same philosophy is going to be for everything. The same thing is going to be for flaps, for the timer, for throttle cut. Everything is going to be like that, and that is what I love the most about this remote. You can assign everything. You can assign your timer, your throttle cut, your dual rates, anything you want, you can assign. Now we're going to go in here to throttle cut. Just like we talked about before, we can assign the switch. Now my throttle cut is going to be back here in the corner. This is my throttle cut. Now again, you can assign any switch you want to throttle cut. This is just the way I learn, mostly because when I hold it, I put my finger right here. So the only way I can turn off the airplane is to move my finger out of this position. It is basically defaulted to on. I would have to physically move my finger to the other side and flip it.
Launch mode.
So that, to me, that works for me a lot. You can do the same thing, or you can have a different philosophy, but this way I'm never going to hit the switch by accident, so it's a very good fail-safe for me. Now again, I have programmed voice into it, so as you can hear, it'll go
throttle cut.
So when I cut the throttle, it's going to say it, and when I want to launch it, it can say a lot of things, but I have it specifically set to launch.
Launch mode.
Simple as that. Now mixing is a real fun one for me. This one was interesting because now I can mix, and I use mixes for idle up and low idle. And again, I can program that. So I'm actually going to switch into my giant scale extra right here, and I'll show you guys the mix on the low idle and high idle, and then that works out really well because again I'm pulling the switch forward, and I'll show you guys that in a second. Alright, so here we are, mix 1, throttle. Okay, here we go. So now, as you can see, it's set to throttle. Okay, so now the switch, whatever I have as a switch, and you can even make it your on switch, it doesn't matter, you can assign it to anything, is going to mix the throttle to a higher or lower idle. I have it set to a 2-position idle, so I can taxi it on a low idle, and when I take off I can just flip the switch, it idles up to exactly where I want it, and take off from there. Keep it very simple. Also with electrics I like to do that as well, just for a little more of a realistic feel. So again, my idle switch is right here, so pulling it up, again because I put my fingers in the middle, I pull it up so my fingers are always defaulted to the on. It's always defaulted to the safest position. Pushing forward is idle down. So pulling back,
idle up 1.
It's set to idle up 1. Pushing forward,
normal mode.
And it's back to normal. Back down here again, you can watch my throttle change.
Idle up 1.
As you can see, the throttle is changing.
Normal mode.
It's as simple as that. So setting up and programming this remote is very, very simple, as I've shown you already with just a couple of the setups. The most popular, such as throttle cut, dual rates, and a basic mix, are very, very, very simple. Now I'm going to show you creating all the voices really fast, and then we're going to talk about a little more of the features and what the remote comes with. So as you can see here, these are all individual voice commands. So I'm just going to go into dual rates. So as you can see, again, the switch here, all you have to do is highlight the switch, it'll start to blink, and this is now asking you what switch you want. So I'm just going to go whatever switch I want. I like C or I like F. Let's go with F. So I'm just going to switch F, and it's automatically going to see it. Let's switch it to C, and it'll change. Simple as that.
Rolling mode.
Okay,
3D rates.
so now the switch is set to
Low
C,
rates. 3D rates.
and now whatever position I choose, it'll say anything. Now I can make it say anything I want, just whatever I keep of memory. So I like to keep it simple with 3D rates, mid rates, and low rates. It's very straightforward, very simple, and I like it a lot. So switching it to 1,
Mid rates.
you have mid rates,
Low rates.
low rates,
3D rates.
and 3D rates. Alright, now finally the monitor. Now, a lot of people have been asking me this because they keep thinking their gimbals will not center. Now, I want you to keep in mind the gimbals will not center if your plane is trimmed. So as you can see, not all the numbers are centered. As you can see, there is a 4 and a 1, I'm moving right now, and they're not centered. That is merely because of the trim. So please do not send your remote back to Spektrum just because you don't think that it's centering. Make sure everything is trimmed forward, everything is flat, everything is brand new like a fresh model before sending it in, and then you lose 3, 4, 5 weeks of flying time. Make sure everything is centered, make sure everything is fresh. Alright guys, so now let's go back to the stand and we'll talk about all the features. Alright guys, so first we're going to talk about the battery. You have 2 options for a battery type. We have lithium ion and lithium polymer. Personally, I like lithium polymer. It lasts longer, it's a little easier to work with. I'm a big fan of lithium polymer. Lithium ion works great. The DX9 comes with a 2000 milliamp 2-cell. Right now I'm running a 4000 milliamp lithium polymer 2-cell. And that'll give me a good 4 or 5 days of flying, which is a ton. I have not used this for a whole day, so I cannot tell you exactly how much, but I'm going to estimate around 2 days of solid flying, about 14 hours, maybe up to 18, without even draining it that low. I do not like my batteries to get anywhere below 25%, even 30% is when I charge them. I want to keep everything safe. It's not worth risking it and losing your model. Alright, next we're going to be talking about the manual. I've been reading a couple of reviews on Horizon Hobby where they say the manual is very hard to understand. I personally don't see this. However, I have been a Spektrum owner and a Spektrum flyer for a while, so I'm used to their programming. Their programming is pretty straightforward to me because I've been using it ever since I've started flying, but I can see how it is a little confusing if you come from Futaba or even JR for that matter. Even though JR and Spektrum program are a little closer together than Futaba, but if you're transferring over from Futaba, it is going to be a little more difficult to understand. The way I read this manual, I read it in almost a bullet point form. So this is how it is. Instead of teaching you how to do it, this is what it can do, and I can understand how that it's a little more difficult for a first-time Spektrum user. This remote, I would classify as intermediate to advanced. If you're a beginner, or even getting your second or third plane, I really don't think you need a DX9 or something of this magnitude. I would say go with a DX6 or go with something a little simpler, simpler to programs and simpler to use. As far as I'm concerned, all those extra programming features, all the switches, be a little too complicated. You can get frustrated with the hobby unless you really want to learn it. But other than that, I would classify this as intermediate to advanced and use it accordingly. Go through the manual. The manual has a lot of useful stuff in there. I spent a good 2 days just reading through it, going back, and I even find myself now still going back through it and still learning new features that I did not know about before. Alright, so we talked about the box contents, we talked about some basic programming, we talked about the manual. We're going to talk about the software updating. The software updating is very simple, and later on I'm going to make tutorials on how to program anything you want, program mixes, elevons, tails. I'm going to basically have an entire list of tutorial videos on programming this radio, and not just because it's this radio, but because it also helps program other radios such as the DX8, the DX18, and even the DX7 a little bit, but mostly the 8 and 18 are a lot closer to this. So if you're looking for how to program an 8 or 18, you can come see my tutorial videos and they'll show you how to program a mix depending on what you want, throttle cut. And the voice we're going to talk about, we're going to go through those tutorials and show you guys how to program the voices to synchronize with the switches that you've chosen to pull up gears, flaps, whatever it may be. One cool feature about this I found is that it has a pre-flight setup. The pre-flight checklist is really useful, I found. It has an entire list of things, everything from basic controls all the way to making sure your gear hatch is on correctly, your battery hatch, everything. So it has a checklist inside, and it will not let you go until you have everything checked if you choose to program it that way. I choose to use a little bit of it, but mostly everything I use just from memory. But the checklist I highly recommend. It is a great idea, and I'm very happy to see it in this remote. The frame rates. As if you guys have been using Spektrum radios for a while, you can change the frame rate and the millisecond response time. 22 millisecond is for basic analog servos. The 11 millisecond response time is very, very useful. I use the 11 millisecond on my 100cc airplane, and it's very quick. However, you can only use those with digital servos. The sound settings. The sound settings are very useful, and you can change the volume of the sound. Just by going in on the main screen, clicking back on the main screen, it'll bring up a volume. You can scroll up, scroll down, select it, and let me do it real fast and you guys can hear exactly what it does.
Volume 50.
So we turn the volume up,
Volume 20.
and we can turn it down, simple as that. The telemetry in this I have yet to use, but I'm very excited that it does, and it has up to, I believe, 14 or 15 telemetry settings inside of it. And all you have to do is grab the telemetry modules from Spektrum, put them in the plane, program correctly, and you can program the switches. And one that I really like is you can program the switch to flip the switch and it automatically reads in, such as voltage, your altimeter, your airspeed, whatever you may want. All you have to do is flip a switch while you're flying and it will read it through the remote. And finally, we're going to just talk about the timer. The timer is very unique, and again, I haven't messed with the DX18. However, I did find this is a very unique feature. You can ask it and have it tell you.
Volume 50.
So I'm going to turn the volume up. Now, on my remote, this switch right here is going to be my start. It's a 3 position, which is a really useful feature because we put it in the mid position, it starts it.
Timer start.
And it tells you timer starting, and it will continue. If you push it up,
Timer stop.
it'll stop it. Pushing it back down,
Timer start.
it'll start it. Now the feature that I really like about the DX9 is if I push it down to the bottom position, I can program it to read me the time.
Time remaining 9 minutes 47 seconds.
No matter what part I am in that flight, if I push it to the down position, it will still run the clock and it will read me the time remaining. And it is just the same way with all your telemetry readings. No matter what switch you want to switch it to and what position you want it to, it will read you exactly what's programmed.
Timer stop.
Next, and this is definitely going to be not last but not least, is the wireless buddy box. I had the privilege of using the wireless buddy box last week, and it was flawless. This is one of my favorite features about the DX9, mostly because if you have a new trainee, especially if they're younger and really excited about flying, as soon as they land, they're going to want to go grab that airplane. They're going to walk it off, taxi it off, and then go pick it up. They're going to forget about that cord. I can't tell you how many times I have seen the cord pulled out of my remote or a friends of mine remote because the trainee just doesn't remember it. So the wireless buddy box is very useful to that. I do not quite know about the distance between the remotes, but we had a good 60 to 70 feet between us, and it still worked flawlessly. So we might experiment a little later, going up to 100 yards, but I'm not sure. Obviously, you're never going to need that. But distance should not be an issue with the wireless buddy box. Alright guys, that about sums up this basic review. I'm going to have tutorial videos later on how to program these features. And if you're watching a little later, definitely go down in my channel, check them out. They might be in the links, they might be up here on the outer rim of the box. Check them out, all your programming features, and please, if you want to know how to program something, or if you're curious if you can program something or not, leave a comment, let me know. Don't forget to subscribe, follow me on Twitter at VoroRC. I'm also have a Facebook page now, also VoroRC, facebook.com/VoroRC. Check it out and have fun flying.